today to tell the story about James Whitey Bulger. I will go through his life, starting with his early criminal days in Boston's South End, and bring you through the day he was finally captured on June 22nd, 2011. I will also discuss how he became Boston's #1 most wanted, as well as the FBI's #2, only behind Osama bin Laden. How he single-handedly helped bring down the Italian Mafia in Boston, while building his own empire as Boston's most feared man, while all along getting help to do so by the Boston's FBI branch. Living in South Boston and working at the time remodeling houses for a friend of mine, I walked down to the corner store to get a soda and some cigarettes. As I walked up to the store, I noticed the name, Rotary Variety Store. I just walked into one of Whitey Bulger's main places where he conducted business for over 20 years. As I walk in, I look to the left and see a stairwell leading to the basement, where Whitey Bulger had once allegedly brought people down to hold meetings or to get rid of them. It is very disturbing to know that so much possible torture and death was committed just feet below me in the basement of the Rotary Variety Store. As I walk out of the store, I remember some of the gruesome stories I had read about in books of Whitey and his gang. Now to be inside and see firsthand, you get a cold chill wondering exactly what is taking place just down those few steps. The story begins in 1929 in Boston's South End, where Jane Bulger gives birth to a beautiful baby boy by the name of James Joseph Bulger, Jr. Little did they know that innocent little boy was going to one day be one of the FBI's most wanted criminals and have wreaked havoc on the same streets in which they were standing on that day. Although all through his childhood, Whitey was always in trouble, and in 1956 went to prison on bank robbery charges. In 1965, Bulger was released from prison and headed back to South Boston, where he took up a couple minor jobs and finally became an enforcer for Donald Killeen, head of the dominant Irish gang in South Boston at the time. While with the Killeen gang, a war breaks out between the Killeen gang and Mullen gang. Whitey, realizing he's on the losing side of the war, turns to Howie Winter, who is the head of the Winter Hill gang. He joins forces with him and proceeds to end the war in South Boston by killing the leaders of his old gang. Now with the war ended, the Winter Hill gang, Mullen gang, joined forces with Howie Carr at the helm and Whitey right by his side. Now with the two gangs merged, Whitey alongside Howie Winter were in control of South Boston's underworld. In the following years, Whitey, with Winter's approval, starts killing all those who stepped out of line to maintain control over Southie. In 1979, Howie Winter, along with many members of the inner circle, were arrested for fixing horse races, while Whitey receiving no charges. Whitey, alongside partner Stephen Fleming, were now in full control of South Boston. Little did they know that at the time, that by then Whitey as well as Fleming have both been FBI informants for many years. This is the reason they were left out of the indictments, because the FBI did not want to lose such valuable informants. In 1974, Special Agent John Connolly decides to try and see if he can recruit Whitey one last time. Whitey and Connolly had a past together, having both grown up in the same streets and knowing each other as kids. Whitey agrees to meet with Agent Connolly at Wollaston Beach, where Connolly successfully recruits Whitey to help bring down the Patriarcha crime family. Whitey had owed the Patriarcha family $240,000 and was willing to help to save himself. The deal was Whitey needs to help bring down the family, and in the meantime Whitey would get a free pass to conduct his business now with this alliance and no one on his way. While also getting help by the FBI, he is on his way to being the biggest criminal in Boston history. All through the 1980s and 90s, Whitey, alongside Stephen Fleming, ran shakedowns throughout eastern Massachusetts, which included, but were not limited to, extortion, making drug dealers pay protection, loan sharking, bookmaking, truck hijacking, and arms trafficking. While doing all of that, the book Black Mass has said that Whitey was possibly connected to over 50 murders that had taken place during that time. On top of all of that, Whitey manages to win the lottery to a tone of $14 million. As quoted in a Fox News report, there was accusations that Whitey had the lottery fixed for him to win. There was never any proof found that he had a hand in it, but with the stranglehold on Boston at the time, anything was possible. Unfortunately, the reign was only good for so long. In 1994, a task force compiled of DEA, state police, and local police was launched to bring down Whitey Bulger, who had eluded them for so many years. They proceeded to build a case with testimony from some of his associates to build a case under the RICO Act. On December 23, 1994, Whitey receives information and flees Boston with common law wife Teresa Stanley. On October 10, 2001, Whitey is added to FBI's most wanted list with a $2 million reward offered for his capture. Finally, on June 22, 2011, Whitey was captured in Santa Monica, California. He's been on the run for almost 17 years. He's been extradited to Boston and is now awaiting his day in court to face charges for the murders and extortion he committed so many years ago. In conclusion, I have given you a little insight into the life of Whitey Bulger, and now, along with the FBI's help, he became one of the most wanted criminals the country has ever seen.